Yes, hello everybody. Have a good day. To all the participants to our online webinar about German renewable energy technologies. I welcome all of you. We have quite a significant number of participants. We had about 250 registrations. Yeah, welcome. There's even more than our physical meetings. Yeah, this is the online version of our conferences we do as Econit in cooperation with our partner in Germany, the company eclareon, Mr. Ohm, who will welcome you after this. This is a program co-funded and supported by the German Ministry of Economics. And today's topic is decentralized energy supply with focus on hybrid systems with small wind and photovoltaic. I also would like to welcome all the German speakers, which are now safely at home in their environment, but later will be online with you here. Very well welcome. And yes, we have this seminar. It's a series. We do it normally. And this time is the focus, as I mentioned before. We have a number of technical presentations. We have 3 sessions today: small wind applications and energy storage. We have decentralized photovoltaic solutions and hybrid systems. The third one in the afternoon is about financing solutions. We have presenters from for all 3 sessions, and I hope we have interesting presentations. I would like to ask the speakers to focus on their technological solutions. We will share the company profiles and product catalogs later with the audience, so you can focus on the technical solutions. Yeah, I hope you're all safe and sound at home. And I wish us all a very interesting seminar. And I would like to hand over first as next to Mr. Ohm, and then we have our professional moderator, Mr. Susanto, who then will have a short introductory presentation about hybrid system investment in Indonesia. But first, I would like to welcome Mr. Ohm from eclareon.
Hi, okay. Thank you so much, Mr. Röhnfeldt, for the friendly introduction. Many thanks also to my former colleagues and Stefan, and big hello to the Econit staff. Thank you for the organization of this event and the good cooperation in advance. Yeah, I would also like to warmly welcome you to the kickoff event of this business trip on the subject decentralized energy supply with a focus on hybrid systems with small wind and PV. This event takes place as part of the initiative Energy Solutions Made in Germany. My name is Sebastian Ulm. I'm with the company eclareon, and I'm consultant for the initiative German and Energy Solutions on behalf of the Federal Ministry for Economic Affairs and Energy. This initiative enables business partnerships in the field of renewables, energy efficiency technologies, smart grids, and smart storage technologies. Based on a Parliament decision in 2002, the initiative aims to support SMEs to distribute smart and sustainable energy solutions and to contribute to international climate protection. It is coordinated and financed by the German Federal Ministry of Economic Affairs and Energy. To support the goals of the initiative, we offer information on German technology and latest news about the German energy field, networking and business opportunities with German companies, both in your country and in Germany. Also showcasing reference projects worldwide. Besides that, we also inform German companies about your market via market news, market analysis, and so on. The next delegation trip to Indonesia offering products and solutions in the field of energy efficiency and industry in Surabaya and Jakarta is taking place this year in October. For further information, please contact Econit if you're looking for networking and business opportunities with German companies. Also, please visit our website, German Energy Solutions. Besides latest information and news about technology and made in Germany from all sectors, you can use our online database and perform a targeted search for suitable matches, find German companies and energy solutions, and get in touch with the companies directly. Now I would like to wish you an exciting conference, and I'm handing over to my colleague Stefan. Thank you very much for the attention.
Hello, good morning, everybody. Actually, it's afternoon. So I would like to just quickly run through the schedule that we've got 3 sessions today. We've got the small wind application and energy storage. So for session 1, we have session 2 for the decentralized PV solution, and then we have financing for the last. Maybe we can start my presentation so that we can have a little bit of time in between later on, so we don't get late. So I'm just. Yeah, perfect.
You have the control, Pak?
Okay, okay. Okay, so I'll just start this. I know that distributed generation and distributed energy system does not necessarily mean energy access in rural communities. So we have we can work with distributed generation throughout the larger grid, but I would like to kind of focus on a little bit more on the de-risking energy access investments, which is not just necessarily technology, but we've got a lot of different risks that we have to look at when we go into rural communities. Now, I'm not going to read all of this. We've got a team who's quite experienced with over 30 years in renewable energy and energy access. And then really what we want to do is de-risk these kinds of investments by utilizing renewable energy, and we de-risk it by focusing on the economic development. One of the big risks when you go into off-grid and energy access projects is sustainability of payment. When you are the one installing the systems, when you're the one investing in energy access projects, whether it's wind, solar, storage projects, if the business model is that you're asking for the community to pay you back on the kilowatt hour, on the energy and electricity that they buy, this will always be an issue. You will have studies on ability to pay and willingness to pay, but typically those studies are a snapshot. They are mostly on what is happening right now. It's very difficult to predict willingness to pay of people beyond 2 or 3 years or 4 years ahead. Without looking at the whole energy access project as an economic development, as a holistic project, you cannot just install electricity systems and assume people will continue paying for it. In over 500 villages that my company and my team have visited across Indonesia, Fiji, Philippines, Myanmar, what we found is that not all projects are successful in this way, when you just assume electricity will be there and people will just continue using it. There is a time where people get bored. Just a quick story: in Fiji and Indonesia, there are villages where they wanted to grow, they need additional electricity, but the project developer did not install enough to meet the growing demand. So there is limited things that the people can do with electricity. After 3 years, most people stop paying for electricity and they go back to not having electricity again. This is despite there is technology that provides them with 24-hour electricity, as well as smart metering and mobile payment. The other risk that you'll have is theft, security. Even though you're in a remote area, and you can say, well, but these people need electricity. There's not going to be that you think you're mitigating the risk of theft or vandalism. This is more of a social issue, not necessarily that somebody is poor and they want to steal the solar system, but it could be jealousy. It could be the next door neighbor or the next door or the nearby villages that you did not electrify, and they're very jealous of the ones that are getting electricity. So this happens, I don't want to say all the time, it happens often enough that social issues that can lead to theft and vandalism of the system is a risk that needs to be handled. Resources. This picture is very, very apt. We install systems, whether it's solar or wind or hydro. Solar is a very good example. When we install a system in a place where it's hot, it has high irradiation, what happens if there's no water for washing? That is another risk that many project developers, when they're very focused on only installing the technology, they're very proud of their technology. Sometimes these little things get forgotten, and resource availability of different kinds are forgotten. Now we got maintenance. Who's going to be doing the maintenance? If it's just cleaning, not a problem, right? Remembering that there needs to be water at least to wash the solar panels. But who's going to be doing troubleshooting? If it's just simple troubleshooting, simple maintenance, we can train local people to do it. But what happens if it's beyond that? Are there any access to engineers who can do troubleshooting? What about warranty issues? Can you bring the equipment out of the location for warranty issues? Like if you have a big piece of equipment, transformers, you've got a fully integrated containers units that cannot be repaired in pieces, and you have to bring out the whole container in. Can that be brought out easily out of the area? And that brings me to logistics. Actually, a lot of these places are very beautiful. I mean, this is one of the sites that we have a project in nearby, but access is difficult. We have to fly all the way to Sumba, and there's only like one flight a day that's direct from Jakarta, and then it's a 7-hour drive to be able to come to this place, and that's with a small car and motorcycles. Again, if you have big pieces of equipment, if you've got a containerized solution, is that the right solution? Even though in many aspects, a containerized solution is a very good solution, but when it's difficult to reach, we need to kind of rethink that particular aspect of it. So having looked at all the different risks, what we develop is a rural economic development delivery model. What we deliver is not electricity, but we develop a business plan that looks at economic development, utilizing renewable energy that will enable that development. I'm not going to read through the whole thing, but basically, the first thing that we do is we want to look at the social aspects of it. We make sure that all the stakeholders, especially the people using electricity, that we engage with them, that we know their needs, that we know what resources they have, we know them as people, as a person. What do they want, right? And then we integrate all of that, including their human part. What do they want? What are they willing to do? Are they entrepreneurs? Are they just simply just want to earn money through simple means? We incorporate all of that into the business model. We look at technology. This is a smart modular mini grid that I designed. The topology is my design. This is implemented by another company. But in any case, technology is great these days, right? I mean, this seminar is a good example. There's many companies with different technologies that addresses different aspects of the risks. But we need to make sure that the right technology is applied in the right place with the right business model. Then maintenance. This is my team training local people to do maintenance and troubleshooting. But on top of that, we also make sure that they have access to our team in the region who are trained engineers and technicians. And then they also have access to our team in Jakarta for warranty issues. So it cannot just stop with, oh, but I have local people that I've trained for a couple of days and they can do everything. That's been proven to, it's not enough, right? They can do a lot, but it's not enough to leave them alone. We have to give them support. Economic development, we need to make sure that with electricity, they can earn more money, that they can develop their economic status, that they can grow. In that case, that is reducing a lot of the risk of them not being able to pay or not wanting to pay in the future. Hello. Do I still have? Hello. Can I just go next, please?
Yeah.
And basically, that's what we need to be looking at is looking at the whole set of risks, and we need to look at the whole set of solutions, not just technology minded or not just business model minded, but we need to look at from the demand side. What do the people want, and what do they really are able to participate? We need their participation for a sustainable energy access investment. Next. And that's it. Thanks. So I think what we have next is we're going to start with the session 1, and we have a poll for that. So should we get the poll running, and then we go immediately into the first session. So we got the, if you guys, if all the attendees are looking at your screen, we have that poll. If you can answer that, we give you about 30 seconds. So don't take too long.
Is the result?
Yeah. So all right. So have everybody answered it? Well, if everybody's answered the poll, 92% of you have not experience in installing a wind system. So that's that means you guys can learn a lot from the seminar today. So I'm just going to start session 1 with Lawrence Miller with a presentation on system integration of renewable energy source with fluctuating with solar or wind. we ready to go to Mr. Mueller?
Yeah, hello everybody. Good morning or good afternoon, depends on where you are. My name is Lorenz Müller, as Mr. Susanto already said. I'm going to present the current experiences in Germany. So the situation, of course, in Germany is a bit different to what has been presented by Mr. Susanto for Indonesia. Germany is fully industrialized, but it's more the transition from a system which was formerly based on nuclear power and fossil fuels to a system which is based on renewable energy sources. So mainly in Germany, due to the geographical situation, wind power and photovoltaics. I'm not quite sure if I have the control now. Okay, you switched that on. So Germany is, let's say, in the heart of the European interconnected electricity system. Basically, in Europe, there are 5 different synchronous grid areas. The biggest one is continental Europe, where Germany is located. All over Europe, we have 35 interconnected countries with an installed capacity of a bit more than 1,000 gigawatts. So population 500 million roughly, and quite an extensive grid. So that's a bit fast. If you could switch back, yeah. So here you see the German system in the heart of Europe. In Germany, we have 4 TSOs. My company, which is 50 Hertz, is located in the eastern part of Germany. Next slide, please. Europe and Germany both have quite ambitious energy policy targets. I already said that the idea or the vision is to have a transmission from fossil fuels to renewable energies in order to reduce the CO2 emissions and to reduce or to fight climate change, basically. And in December last year, Europe decided on a new European Green Deal, which foresees that by the year of 2050, Europe, would like to reduce the CO2 emissions by 100%. An interim step is 2030 with a reduction by 55%. Germany is almost as ambitious. We used to be more ambitious until the new Green Deal for Europe was taken or decided, and so the same interim target of 55% by 2030, and I guess we will do the same 100% goal for 2050, which is logically as we of course would like to comply with the European goal. The renewable energy share and power consumption by 2030 shall be 32% for Europe, 65% for Germany. In our control area, we are quite advanced in that respect. So last year we already had, of course, that's a calculatory value, 60% of the final consumption covered by renewable energy sources, which is quite a lot. And of course, it leads to different or new challenges as regards system operation and also grid extension. I will come to that later. Next slide, please. Here you see the renewable energy sources development in Germany over the last years. So you see on the left-hand side the year 2000, where we had roughly 30,000 plants or installations in Germany, mainly wind power in the north of Germany. And then a new Renewables Energy Act came into force and led to a massive growth of renewable energy sources. So in 2006, you see already an intensive growth, much more installations here, still mainly wind power, but then photovoltaics grew as well. And in 2018, you see the picture on the right-hand side here. You see quite a colored picture with many wind and photovoltaics installations, also biomass, but the majority is wind power. And in the north, mainly due to geographical conditions, and photovoltaics in the south of Germany. Next slide, please. And the growth is expected to continue. So you see here the years from 2007 till 2019 or 18-19 here, and the projection or the forecast until the year of 2030. And you see that the number of renewable energy sources, so the installed capacity, is expected to double again over the next 11 years or 10 years from now. So we will see that extensive growth up to 200 gigawatts of installed renewable energy sources by the year 2030. By that, we will cover 65% of the electricity consumption, and this is, as you might remember, the policy goal for 2030. Here you see the status and the outlook of the regional generation in Germany, and you see that the generation takes place mainly in the north of Germany because here the majority of the wind power is connected, so northwest and northeast here on the top of the map. Whereas the consumption centers are located in the western part and in the southern part of Germany. So that means that this generation surplus in the north reinforces the need for transfer capacities, so grid capacity basically, from the north to the south. Next slide, please. So this requires an adaptation of the transmission grid. And the increased need for transmission here is roughly 25 gigawatts, which is key for a successful energy transition, because without the grid, we would have to do intensive congestion management and generation curtailment in the north. And this is, of course, from a socio-economic point of view, not reasonable, and therefore the grid increase, grid extension is necessary and required. Next slide, please. Here you see what happens if the grid is not strong enough, because the current grid is not strong enough. Why is that? Because we have that energy transition, we have that phase out of nuclear power, we have the phase out of coal, and it's much easier from timing perspective at least to build new generation capacity than to build a new line. And so the grid extension is lacking behind the generation extension, and that requires the need for redispatching. And redispatch is a costly measure. Here you see the volumes we had to face in our control area and the cost in million euros. And you see that this is quite a high number of cost in 2015. But on the other hand, you see the effect of the commissioning of a new line, because in 2016 we commissioned a new line towards the south of Germany, the southwest interconnector here, and you see that.
1 minute, Herr Müller.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
Yeah.
Don't I have 15 minutes? I guess. So next slide, please. Then we can skip that. You see the effect 750 million euros here of that line, which is more than, of course, investment cost. Here you see, what we need to do. You see the target grids. You see the installed capacity in Germany and the forecast of that. You see the development of the load. Of course, load is expected to grow as well due to electric cars, power to gas, heat pumps. But still, we need some grid. But we believe that the grid extension can be less in the future due to effects like sector coupling, innovations in grid operation management, and active load flow control. So we will see a target grid, and then this is what we need, and we can cope with that. We do that all on the basis of the so-called core principle, so coordination, optimization, reinforcement of the grid, and expansion of the grids. And of course, the most economic way is to optimize the current grids, which we do, but which is not enough to cope with the increasing generation here. So new lines are required as well. And we will also have quite big HVDC, so direct current lines. This is to transport the electricity from the north to the south.
Should we wrap it up?
Pardon
me? Should we wrap it up? It's just about 10 minutes already.
Yeah, just 2 slides, I guess. So that's then enough. So you see that the success of the German energy transition depends on 3 elements: efficient promotion and grid expansion. Also, of course, second, a clear up of roles and responsibilities. So renewable energy have to play their role in the system as well. The less conventional power plants we have, the more responsibilities will have to be taken by renewable energies. Sorry, again, please, the former slide. And of course, also a development of the market design. So a market which is apt for the integration of renewable energy sources. Okay, next slide, please. So you see here that of course the integration is challenging, but you can go to the next slide, please. Next slide, please. And furthermore, you see that even though we have, this one is nice. The one after this one, please.
Yeah, we should wrap it up so we're not late for the other speakers. Do you have one more slide left?
So told that I have as the introduction here 15 minutes. So sorry for that, but
okay.
Yeah. So
yeah,
the integration is possible, and still the quality of the supply is increasing even. So even though we have 65% renewable energies in the system, we already have 60%, as I said. The SAIDI index, which represents the quality of supply, is becoming better in Germany, and this is remarkable. And so I will come to the summary. Next slide, please. So to reach Europe's and Germany's ambitious policy targets, we need to transform the sector. We need to come from a fossil-dominated system to a system which is based on renewable energy sources. We're quite advanced in that. Of course, this is challenging as regards grid extension and operation and integration of renewable energy sources. but it's possible whilst at the same time maintaining the high system security and quality of supply. But, and that has to be mentioned as well, of course, we need huge investment into the grid and more flexible operation and cooperation, as well as integration of new players, so renewable energy sources, which are required to cope with the changing infrastructure and the resulting load flows. So thank you, and you will of course get the slides so you can read all things once again at home.
Great. Thank you. Next, we have Rolf Hoffman from LoveSite. Are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready. Do you hear me?
Perfect. Let's just go for it.
So to switch the slides, do you do that, or do I have access to that?
You should have access.
Okay, hopefully. Hello, everybody, and thanks for your time to listen to this audio, this presentation of LoveSite, the leading technology in vertical wind turbine in Germany. So in this next 10 minutes, I guess, I give you a small overview what is possible and what we try to bring to your country. So LoveSite, I founded it 2014 with a group of engineers together, and we grown up and designed some nice turbines which people love to see. So this is not an ugly industry looking thing. So this is what people really like to look at. And so this is what I wanted to do first, is the positive energy from energy systems to bring to people, not only to suffer and say, okay, we need some industry in our nice environment of coast side. So this is something what people really want. So we follow 3 big mega trends in energy industry. That means renewable energy in itself, decentralized supply, and more than 1.5 billion people don't have access to electricity. So they for sure want all these possibilities as a fridge or to get light in the night and things like that. So with this kind of solution, we try to connect us to these 3 mega trends. Next. So how do I shift the next foil?
The mouse.
Okay, mit der Maus, alles klar. For Indonesia, I found some data that means renewable energy is just a very small topic in this country now, and it's very strong growing country as well. So that means there's a lot of things to do because of a lot of islands. They have individual situations, and so you can't take it like Europe as a big continent. So all these island situations needs specific solution to bring electricity to the people, and to take the oil, the gas, and the coal out of the window, because this is for our climate and for the future for our children's. This is what really not somebody needs. Next foil. So somebody should shift it. Yeah, that's good. No, backwards, please. Backwards. Is it possible to that somebody help me? The next is
you have control yourself, actually.
Where? Can't do that.
Either with the keyboard or with the mouse.
With the mouse, okay. Just take this. This is the map, and you see the red and the green points. That means here is wind enough, and this shows that more than 6 meters per second wind speed is on the coast side, on this direction of the south. There are a lot of islands have in the average more than 6.5 meters per second wind speed. That means it is really a a nice area to have a performance with normal small wind turbines. You see the Lombok and all these islands, they are named here on the map. So we have resourced that this is a really possible to go for independent grid connection, independent from PLN. So next. Okay, these are examples what we have done in the world now. That means vertical wind turbines in this 4-blade unit for Siemens. They use this on platforms on the North Sea. So what we have is a very robust design that survived in all storm conditions. That's very necessary if you are in off-grid situation and there's nobody to fix small problems. And it's silenced. Silence means we can build it direct next to a building, and the people are not infected by the noise because there is no noise. They are bird friendly and good to the beds, so there's no conflict to the nature, and it's easy to combine it with battery and solar in one power plant, because we have a special power server who has all these channels in one piece together. So there's a waterproven system where everything is connected, so we can make an independent power plant out of that. So next. This is a small graph of our typical design of the latest model. Zero emission means friendly to the people and the birds and beds. I told efficiency means compared to the grid price what we have in Germany. So I have to translate it in this situation to Indonesia. What is the cost and what is the outcome? But we have in Germany, we have about till between 12 and 15 years. That is for somebody who's as a private person investor, maybe a too long distance, but our typical customers are companies and like hotels or shopping malls or universities, schools, public houses. They are as a symbol for the future and show the people here is a new way we can do that. And for sure, if we have a more bigger number of industry production, the price will easily drop down. Or if we produce these pieces in Indonesia to, for instance, to find a place for assembling and to work together with a local partner, we can easily drop down in half of the price. So this is something what I do advertisement here in this, and this is one of this topic I'm here in this meeting today. We want partner for both situations, for sell and for maintenance and building. So that means construction, it's done already, but for assembling the parts together. Okay, symbol as an energy policy in the world. And for sure, for only if there is really wind, then it makes sense. So there's on the coast side area where the people live, this is the area where we need these solutions. So next slide, please. Here are some small technical insights. That means we have underneath open our technical solution. There's an overload clutch, so that means if the turbine is coming into storm, they don't crack the generator down, they loosen up, and the turbine is turning by itself. It's like a sailing boat where you can't shift the sail down, so because it's in the wind, and the wind is sometimes very strong, and so this is our solution, and it works perfectly, and that's for safetiness and for good for the electricity, that there's no brake necessary here. Next, please. So this is a view to our power server everything is in one string, so we can take it all together. If you have a DC-DC connector necessary because there's a battery behind, everything is in one piece. So it's not necessary to build houses beside to our power plant. So everything is in the mast included. So the customer tell us what he needs, and he get everything in IP68. So this is waterproven, and so there's no maintenance in the next 20 years necessary. Next, please. This is.
You have 1 minute left.
Yeah, we get it. So this is just, we can go over, this is just the technical drawings. You can take it from our website. So all these pages are easy to look at. Follow us please on Facebook or on Instagram. We have always the latest models on the page, and have a big library on our web page where you can follow the knowledge about wind industry in the smaller scale. Next, please. So this is the future. These both models we have already, and in the future we showcase our model what come up next year. That means this is a Darieux system, and around there is a box with solar, and in the middle is a channel, and it's accelerate the wind in the double. That means 8 times higher performance coming out of the Darieux system. That is a vertical system which runs on a principle of Bernoulli, and we get it in half to make the price compared to the grid connection. Though that means the efficiency is rising year by year, like computer chips are. Every year we halve the price. So this is what we expect in the future, that we always come closer to the solution that is the mass product for the people in the decentral energy. Thank you very much for your attention, and we would like to stay connected to you as a company.
Perfect, thank you. So next we have Mr. Clemens Chi from BAE Batteries, something that I'm sure many of you are looking to hear about as well. Look at batteries. Mr. Chi.
Good afternoon or good morning to our friends in Germany, and good afternoon to those in Asia. Selamat siang to our friends and in Indonesia as well. So my name is Clemens. I work for BAE Batteries. I'm now based in Singapore actually. So today I will quickly run through what do we do actually, BAE. Can I put the next slide?
Might be easier with an arrow, left or right.
Okay. Now, BAE is founded since 1899. So last year is actually our 120 years anniversary. This year we already 121 years. We built only premium lead batteries, and it's 100% made in Berlin, Germany. So therefore, our tagline is always quality made in Germany. We have 180 employees. More than 80% of our business relying on export. Okay, our products basically are used in 4 segments. We divided them such: stationary applications. These are mainly for power plants, standby, UPS, infrastructure. Renewable application, which is what we are focusing today. Then we have rail traffic as well as motive power application. So if you look at it, both stationary and solar actually contribute almost 80%, almost 88% of our turnover last year. So BAE built very high quality batteries, and of course we have all the international standard compliance, ISO 9001 up to 50001, and our batteries are built with very traditional way of manufacturing. Our plates are using high pressure casting, and we are the only one that fill our plates with red lead. That's our active material, and we use the tank formation to form all the plates. Yeah. On top of that, we use a high quality woven gauntlet and our panzer pole design. If you can see this is patent terminal pole. Only BAE has it, and we patent it. All our batteries are supplied with this panzer pole. So this is to just recap what I've just mentioned: high pressure casting, dry filling of red lead tank formation, use of reinforced woven gauntlet, and the patent panzer pole. This is what we put into our batteries. So BAE battery actually reflects very good quality, because what we use in the batteries, it provides perfect reliability, and we assure you the lowest operational expenses for, especially for PVB or our solar batteries. They are all tested in accordance to IEC 61427. Our cells, we provide easy assessment for measurements, voltage, and excellent deep discharge capability. Of course, last but not least is protection against the lead failure. So a lot of time customer asks, why lead batteries? I cannot move the slides. Next slide, please. Okay. So BAE, because I mentioned earlier, we only make premium lead batteries. So what is the advantages over the others? Well, first of all, lead technology has been around since more than 150 years. So if you look at it, lead batteries is actually have very low upfront costs, and you calculate over the whole lifetime. Yeah, and it's a very safe energy storage technology. Easy installation and commissioning, simple and cheap transportation. You don't need special packing. Very simple and easy for transportation. And most importantly, it's up to 99% recyclable. So when you use lead batteries, normally you get money back when you replace the batteries. Yeah. If you use other batteries, for instance, nickel cadmium, you may have to pay to get rid of the batteries. So for solar and energy storage applications, our batteries, we have actually classified for solar application 4 class. Yeah, class 1 meaning mainly utilizing almost 100% by solar energy. Here you can see is you can actually operate with our battery, this block cells. Class 2 are generally about 70% to 90% powered by solar. Class 3 until class 4. So here, all these are bigger cells. Yeah, you can see in the next slides. We have as low as 2 volt, 140 Ah up to 4,940 Ah for the biggest cells that we can supply, especially for big solar application and even wind application. The only thing you have to decide is here we have VLA, is known as vented lead acid, and VRLA, or valve regulated lead acid. So difference being, vented you need to top up. Yeah, periodically you have to top it up with pure distilled water, whereas the seal type you don't have to top up. So that's why it's called maintenance free. So this is a typical example of a small hybrid system which we work with most of the customers. Yeah. So energy storage is here. This is where we are represented. So that battery part is what we are doing Okay, we can provide you either block system or cell system. So how to size the right solar batteries? Actually, this is a lot of time, a lot of questions being asked. So normally, in order for us to first size up the battery, we need you as a customer or consumer to provide all this information. First, you need to decide what type of batteries you want to use, vented or sealed type, installation, whether you want it horizontal or vertical. Do take note, horizontal or vertical is only applicable for sealed batteries. Vented cell, it must be vertical. Yeah, it's no means for you to actually put it on horizontal. The acid will leak. So, and also the system voltages. Yeah. Also, next thing is the load profile. You need to give us the load profile and number of days autonomy time for the battery to be able to support your load. This is at least the basis for us to size up the batteries. System efficiency, if you can provide us the climate condition and also even the technology, inverter technology, and all this additional information, then with a click of a button, we can actually, this is the typical example of a composite profile. Yeah, it's something that we work every time, most of the time, in fact. So based on those road profile, we can actually apply into our best software. This is our own BAE developed battery sizing software. It allows us to size up the battery very quickly, and it's actually compliance with IEC 485 2010.
You have 1 minute.
Okay, very good. So I'm already towards the last part. Nothing more to show you what we have done, our project reference in the region. This is one of the biggest project, I think, by far. We have supplied in Dubai Safari Park. It's about 2.1 megawatt hour. So this is actually coupled with the SMA inverters, as you can see. Total 288 cells of the biggest battery. We have almost 3,500 AH. Yeah. So in Dubai, this is in Myanmar. These are all hybrid, solar hybrid system. You can see this is a beautiful Borders Bay eco resort located in an island near the border between Myanmar and Thailand. This is one I wanted to show you. These are our largest cells. Take note, these are all horizontal mounted. This is basically to save up the space. Very remote area in the Brunei Island near Tasmania. So, and this is also another residential solar off-grid hybrid project in Australia. Take note the year. We installed since 2009. So this year is 2020. It's 11 years in operation, still running. So, and we just awarded this year the prestigious offshore windmill project, wind farm project in Taiwan. Right. Thanks to our Taiwan partners there, following up very closely with the customer there. Okay, in Indonesia, of course, we have some reference. These are for the solar, telecom solar transmission backbone equipment. Yeah. So it's actually solar for telecom. It's in Sumatra. Another one as well, Sumatra Island. So in a nutshell, we'll just give you the summaries. I would like to summarize as follows. Of course, BAE 120 years in history, we produced only high quality industrial lead batteries. Yeah, this one, all this you can read, but do contact us if you need more information and help. Yeah, thank you very much. This is the end of my presentation.
Perfect. So next, we have Michael Eckelman from eclareon on small wind turbines. Are you ready, Mr. Eckermann?
Yes, I'm ready.
Perfect. Let's go for it.
Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to introduce you to eclareon. eclareon is a small startup based in Germany. We are just focusing on small wind turbines on the horizontal side. Now I have the same problem. Oh, yeah, okay, it works. So our wind turbines are, I want to say the normal one, just to address to Mr. Hoffmann. Thank you, Mr. Hoffmann, indeed, for the introduction to the wind energy market issues. So I do not have to repeat it here in my presentation. We do the horizontal ones in a power range from 2.5 kilowatt up to 7 kilowatt systems. We are just focusing on hotels and resorts, on agriculture warehouses, small grid projects worldwide, and rural area development. But our main focus are telecom towers. Here we are in very good negotiations with big telecom business members to make an energy supply to their telecom towers worldwide. This is our main focus. So what we did is that we focused on building our own generator in every single part. That means that we have designed a generator which is which can be scaled down and scaled up to several kilowatt systems by a platform approach. We can give from 2.5 to 7 kilowatt every machine to the customer, and we can also go by a platform approach for weak wind situations as well as to stormy weather situations. So our suppliers are supplying us the single parts which we assemble in Germany to the whole generator. Our generator is completely maintenance free. There is no tear and wear parts inside, and there is no grease used in the generator. So it's very easy to install. This generator, which you see here, is approximately 200 kilogram for as well 2.5 as well as to 7 kilowatt systems. Here is a picture about our production process that you can see that we lay our main focus on quality and sustainability. Every single part is designed by our own engineers. It's completely our own generator and our own IP. So the generator is designed that there is a limited number of pieces inside, so it's very easy to maintain and very easy to install. Our focus to the serial industry production leads us to manufacturing costs, which allows us to bring these generators to the market with approximately $1,500 US up to $2,000 US per kilowatt at this situation. So we are very low cost generator, but with industrial quality and with a good performance for industrial applications. That's why we focus on industrial customers mainly. Our generators are able for installing on-grid. With on-grid, we deliver wind inverter, and we can. This wind inverter also includes a dump load. And the typical on-grid installation is just to consume the power from the wind as a priority input. And if there is no wind situation, then you consume the power from the grid. This is a normal on-grid installation. The off-grid installation is with a wind control, the wind loader in between. So that the from the generator there came the power to a load controller, to a battery system, and from there wherever you want. Next slide, please. How does it work here? Oh, okay. I will show you some references which we did. The start of our company began with a water treatment plant in Aschaffenburg in Germany. We did some tests with the small wind engines. And then we went to several customers. Our biggest project last year was a turbine in Switzerland, which you can see on the middle of this page. The color of the blades and the fin was a customer-specific color, so we are also able to provide several colors on our blades housing for installing, for instance, a logo of your company for your own installation site, whatever you want. And our latest project on the right side is with our customer in Dubai, with the Emirates National Oil Company, on their site on the coming Expo 2020, which will start hopefully in October this year. This site is so-called station, refueling station of the future, where the ENOC company shows a lot of the coming energy resources for cars, and the complete site will be run by renewable energy. And we won the tender for delivering this small wind turbine to their station. You see this turbine without plates because this is still a construction site, and ENOC did not have a permanent power connection to the construction site, so that we pre-assembled only the mast and the turbine, but without the plates, and the plates will come approximately end of June. Then the site is completely finished. What we are looking for, local footprint. We are going for international supply of our generator. Our generator is seen here on the left side. This is what we are going to assemble here in Germany and deliver and ship worldwide. This is a box of, let's say, 50 centimeter times 40 centimeter. What we can do on a local side, for instance, in Indonesia, we can go for suppliers in the wind tail, in the blades, and also for the housing. We do not need that to do here in Germany because this is not a rocket science. Our IP is in the generator. This is what we don't do here in Germany. But all the other things which are big and that's why also expensive to ship, we can do locally in our target markets. So if there is anybody inside the members of this seminar which can do here some GRP manufacturing in Indonesia, you're welcome to contact me, and we can talk about making GRPs locally in Indonesia. We have the same experience in South Africa. There we have a factory which makes these things for us, for our South African customers. This is my short presentation. Thank you very much. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to contact us. Thank you very much.
Okay, perfect. So I see that we've got quite a few questions there. For those of you who are new to this webinar software, if you go to the right, you can see where the questions are. And if you've asked the questions, some of them have been answered. So I'm gonna focus on these questions that have not been answered, and I think are quite interesting for all of them, or for all of us. We've got a question for Mr. Miller, and the question is, in short, is did the duck curve phenomenon happen in Germany regarding the penetration of especially solar PV on the grid, and how did you guys deal with that? How do you resolve that issue? If Mr. Miller, are you on? Sure.
Can you hear me? Hello? Yeah.
Hello? Yep.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you. Yeah.
Ah, perfect. Okay. Could you repeat the question? So the effect of what on
the duck curve, where you've got too much you have a lot of solar PV during the day, and your demand is low, and then in the evening, as the solar reduces, and all of a sudden you have to ramp up your generation to go up to meet the evening demands.
Yeah, of course. I mean, of course, the forecast, especially in case of PV, is quite predictable, even better than in case of wind. And given the fact that the German electricity system is itself already quite a big system, and moreover, it's included in the European electricity system. Of course, it levels out these effects because there's always enough demand to use the injection of photovoltaic if this is predictable. And moreover, of course, we use things like one thing is widespreading the generation by means of transmission capacity, and of course we also use storage capacity to cope with that. So this is not an issue, given the fact that it is quite predictable, and so we can cope with that.
Okay, and then a really quick question kind of to follow up with that. What do you see as the biggest challenge as Germany is going through the period of learning? What are the challenges and lessons learned that perhaps you think is applicable and can be applied in Indonesia regarding integration of variable renewable energy on the grid?
Yeah, well, one thing is predictability, so forecast of the generation. Another thing is, of course, that you need a stable grid to transmit the electricity to consumption locations, and of course also the roles and responsibilities have to be clear. So in Germany, for instance, as I mentioned during the presentation in the beginning, it was, let's say, a niche product, and so renewable generators were, let's say, excluded from the normal market roles and responsibilities. Today, it's not anymore a niche product, but it's a mass product, and the majority already comes from renewable energy sources. So of course the players here have to play the same roles or take the same responsibilities as conventional power plants, and that is something you need to cope with as regards market rules, as regards also the let's say the commitment and understanding of the players. But players today are committed to that, and so this works, but it's a progress.
Got it. And then a question for Mr. Hoffman.
Yeah.
What do you have? What's your construction cost per kilowatt hour or per kilowatt for your system?
Well, this is you know, the kilowatt we instruct we have including in this in the prototyping now. We have about on this graphic, you know, this means 8,000 euro per kilowatt is nowadays our price, and we will wrap up it for 4,000 per kilowatt. So this is the roadmap what we have to achieve in the next 12 months. So we are a startup as well. So this is every year we halve the price of production. And if we will come to Indonesia, we need a partner for not only assembling as well for the metal parts and the GFK, the glass fiber product parts, because it's easier to do it in this country where the customers are. So this means we can drop down this road pricing in the roadmap as well. Very soon, if we have a partnership, they have the facility for assembling and metal work.
Got it. And just to follow up with that, what's your current, or what by the end of 2020, what do you expect the levelized cost of electricity from your system per kilowatt hour? I know it's going to depend on the wind resource, but
the wind is a very big impact because if you double the wind, you have 8 times higher the outcome.
Right.
So that means we just can point in the middle and make a fantasy story out of that. So if you have a specific point of on the map, you can give us the data from the wind from the normal wind per hour, and then we make a specific Excel on that and give data out. But if I just say something, immediately I will get an answer. Oh, this is for us like a stamp. This is not.
Got it. Yeah, and your contact info is in your presentation, right?
Yeah, I would love to stay in contact to everybody. Lufsite.de. It's Lufsite means where the wind come from. It's a German word for the sailor and the windsurfers. So that's the reason our turbine is 360. So where the wind direction always is, we have always the right direction. This is vertical wind.
Yeah. Mr. Chi from BAE Batteries. What do you see about the future of lithium-ion batteries? Are you guys making any? Do you guys see lead acid being replaced by lithium-ion in the next few years? Is it better to use lithium-ion now? What do you see? What do you see the market with that?
Andre, now BAE until now, we are only focusing in manufacturing lead batteries. I showed earlier in our slides that our lead batteries could actually last through 11 years. Yeah. So in the market, a lot of the lithium battery, they give very high information statistics on the number of cycles on this, but in reality, I think they can't even probably last you more than 10 years. So for us, yes, 2-3 years back, actually, there were a lot of discussion of lithium taking over lead totally, but eventually, I think lead batteries prevail. We did pretty well, as I can say, and until today, we are still supplying a lot to the industry, whether it's for solar, small PV home system, or wind system. I think we are still able to capture the market share.
Got it. And I've got one question for Mr. Hoffman again, and this is probably also relevant for Mr. Eckelman. For your wind turbines, how do you deal with lightning protection? Do you have to install a separate lightning rod, or how do you deal with that? Maybe start with Mr. Eckelman.
Our lighting protection is always an issue with small wind. There is no technology known in the market for a standardized lighting protection system. This is, but we recognize this is always an issue with our customers. At the end, if there is lighting striking the generator breaks. But the issue is to make it safe on the bottom with some fuses. We install that with lighting protection fuses on the bottom before the power comes to the inverter or the load controller. This is our lighting protection. That's why we focus on good prices or low prices for the generators that we can install the new generator after light strike comes. But the standardized lighting protection system is, I don't know some system. Maybe Mr. Hoffman knows some.
Right. Go ahead, Mr. Hoffman.
Yeah, we installed actually lightning protection on platforms on the North Sea because there was no higher point than our vertical turbine, and we use in the middle of the track of the shaft, and we have an antenna on top. But the same than Mr. Ackerman told, that means we can't really be safe that the generator is in fact, because there's 10 million voltage or something is coming through, and what's always happened, we have a Pharaohitic Käfig, what English translation, I don't know exactly. So that means it's we have our own piece with a generator and all the electronic in-house, so it should be covered, but lightning is such a high voltage range, so we didn't have any damage till now, but that's the reason is I think the most of our turbines are very close to buildings, and on the buildings they have a lightning protection, and that's covered our turbine in itself. So the most customers are hotels and universities and companies. They have the central, and they want to showcase in front of their own building that wind energy is important for the company. And so this is we don't sell directly the lightning protection.
Got it. Okay. Well, great. Well, thank you everybody from session one. There's a great discussion, and I think we learned a lot. There's still a lot more questions. I'm sorry we can't get to it, but I believe all of the presenters' contact info are in their presentation, and then we'll be sharing the presentation with all the participants. Now we'll start with session two. Again, we have a poll. I'm going to give you 30 seconds to, we're going to put up the poll, and then we'll give you 30 seconds to answer the question, and it'll just be an interesting answer for this. All right. Let's see, what's the, so yeah, so it looks like 51% answered the depends on the available resource and energy demand profile. You have 20% PV and wind, 16% PV and storage, and then we have 9% PV and diesel, and then wind and diesel. Great, thanks for all of those who participate. So we have Mr. Ekram Kesa from Fraunhofer Institute talking about integration of renewable energy sources and hybrid systems. We'll start session two with his presentation, if we have it ready. Mr. Kesa, are you online?
Good morning, everybody, or good afternoon, everybody. Depends
Morning.
on where you.
Good. Go ahead.
Hopefully, everybody can hear me now. Thank you for the invitation and also the opportunity for showing the challenges from an academic point of view. So, and I hope you'll see over here. Okay. I hope I will give you some interesting insights about renewable energy sources and implementing them into companies' infrastructures. So, first slide, why actually is this session necessary? Next slide, please. Okay. First of all, there is a survey from the World Energy Council where they ask energy leaders, so primarily companies who have a high energy related job, which are the most interesting topics for them. And there you see that renewable energies on the bottom right have the highest impact for them at their work. They keep their they are keeping them busy at work. Okay, now it works. They keep you see they have the highest impact, but also you can see they have a pretty low uncertainty. Actually, that's one reason. It's pretty sure that that the renewables will still rise and will have an increasing share, despite to blockchain technology where we don't know will it come and which impact will it have. So therefore, it is a really interesting topic. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. I can't. Okay. Actually, I'm going to skip that slide due to the time schedule. So first of all, from the company's point of view, why is energy flexibility even necessary? What kind of energy flexibility measures or arrangements are there? And then I will give you a brief overlook about storage systems and also about hybrid systems. Next slide. Okay, now back. Okay. Okay, right. So let's talk about the energy efficiency index. I will show you some results. We have a survey conducted where we asked the German industry about energy efficiency topics, and those results are pretty interesting. And I will show you some of it regarding to battery systems and hybrid energy systems. And there you can see our partners we're working together. Okay, so why is it important? Because one topic, one huge topic actually, and not just in Germany, all around the globe actually, it's climate neutrality. Back one slide. Back. Okay, yeah, and we asked them how they want to get climate neutral, and if they're even planning to get climate neutral. And some of them said no, they can't due to technical and economic reasons. And most of them are planning it to get climate neutral until 2030, and or also start implementing measures for getting climate neutral and neutral. And 1% is already completely climate neutral. And then we asked them how they want to reach this goal, this huge goal actually, to reduce their CO2 footprint. And most of them answered we want to implement energy efficiency measures, but energy efficiency measures just reduce your energy consumption. And so you have to, and then the second one was renewable energies by PV or wind or however they want to install their own own renewable energy sources. And another fifth want to purchase renewable energy sources. And as you will know, some of them just want to compensate, 10% just want to compensate buying CO2 certificates, or want to reduce their CO2 footprint by optimization of the supply chain. So there you see renewable energies will still rise, but they have one big issue. They fluctuate, which we already heard today. We have days with pretty big or pretty huge generation of renewable energies. And here you can see it from 2 weeks ago, where the PV and wind production was pretty high, and 2 days later it was pretty low. And we have to face those challenging aspects by being energy flexible. So the companies have to be energy flexible. And there is also a study which showed that they can categorize it by 9 different arrangements. Most of them, like pausing the process or rescheduling the production starts, you can't use it all the time. So therefore, we need technical solutions, which are, in this case, changing the energy source, so hybridization, and also energy storages. and that's what I want to focus about. So what shall we do with a residual load? So the residual load is the difference between the energy consumption and the renewable energy generation, and therefore we have actually 3 basic directions. Use it directly by switching into electrical, or if there isn't so much energy in the grid, switching to a gas or diesel, which we heard today, or you can store the residual load by electrical, thermal, or also compressed air tanks. And the third one is just lead it into the grid. Third way, third direction. So here you can see an example for storage systems. On the bottom, you see the residual load. So the energy you don't use with your facility or with your load profile of your company. So there is a lot of renewable energy which you can't use, so you can just switch it from storing it. But the problem is the renewable actually that's not a problem. That's what a lot of Germans try to do. The energy supply from the grid is really expensive, and with storing it, there's already now some use cases with return on investment with a couple of years due to reducing peak times, which are also really expensive in Germany. And the return on investment, as you can imagine, depends highly on the application and also on the storage systems. So we asked, next slide, yes. So we asked the survey, the German industry, what are the challenges by implementing storage systems, and and you can see 37% already use electrical or use energy storage systems. But the most challenges that they see are the high investment costs. Depending on thermal, compressed air, or thermal storages, they can rise up to several thousand euros. And also another big issue mentioned was the really bad return on investment. Actually, it's pretty long until it's economic. And the other ones just said that they have no potential or they can't implement it due to technical reasons.
You have 1 minute.
Yes. I guess I'm gonna skip that. So we also asked the companies how they can implement hybrid systems, and most of them, micro company, most of them just said, in general, it is possible to replace fossil fuels by completely running it electrically, and 1/3 of them, almost the half of them, just said yes, it could be possible, but some of them just can't do it due to technical reasons. And there we are working on that with one of the biggest projects in Germany, where we try to adapt industrial processes to their fluctuating energy systems, so we can we don't have to we don't have to install a lot of renewable energies, and we can use it when it's there. So to the conclusion.
All right. Anything else, Mr. Kaiser?
Actually, I would like to have the conclusion slide
Yeah.
by, I think, if you have any questions, feel free. And yeah, thank you for your attention.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you very much. Next, we have Mr. Matthias Ross for containerized electricity generation and storage solution. He's from Atarsis. Mr. Ross, are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
Perfect. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, thank you very much for the opportunity to present Atarsis in Indonesia. And so we would like to introduce ourselves by this. Yes, it is working. Okay. Okay, Atarsis is a company which provides storage solution now for 6 years, and we provide all the types of storage solutions we have on the market right now. That's basically 3 groups we can share. That's the one for the rural electrification, that are basically the smallest solution. You see one typical situation on the right picture. And second, we have the so-called commercial and industrial solutions. That means something like chicken farms or mining sites, or which is common in Indonesia more and more, also for hotels and other tourism attractions, and at least the so-called utility scale projects, which are the largest one for ancillary services in the grid. So basically, all these 3 solutions are provided by Atarsis, and all 3 solutions we have in the meantime and several projects. Oh, sorry, it's too quick. So, well, if I would like to introduce now, first of all, the so-called off-grid systems, meaning systems which are running not with a connection to the grid. They are necessary to provide power for 24/7, which is normally not the case, especially on the islands in Indonesia. There we have 4 or 5 or 6 hours provided by diesel generators. And second, we have the environmental and noise pollution problems, which are solved by these projects, which is very nice for hotels and something like that. But most of all, we have the advantage of lower cost than the diesel generation. That is an issue in Indonesia, which is a little bit complicated because there is a subsidy of diesel genset or in the fuel, which makes not a typical picture of the world market situation. But anyhow, it is a case which I would like to show you a little bit with these 2 graphs. On the left side, you see a graph which shows the typical situation of one day, showing the load, which is this line which I point out here with my cursor. And there you provide the solar PV generated electricity, which is the yellow, and the state of charge of the battery. And you see that in the beginning of the day, the battery is charged by the solar. So the SOC, the state of charge, jumps up to noon 200%. And then in the later afternoon, you see that the solar comes down because of the rainy season. So we have in the afternoon basically more rain than the sun. So, but it's enough for the battery to supply in the beginning evening at 6 p.m. or something like that. So yet through the night you get the power by the battery, and the state of charge jumps down from to up to 0 in the very early morning between 4 and 5 o'clock. And so the diesel generator jumps in for exactly that time you need to jump up in the next morning to supply. And economically, the result is what you see in the, wait a second. And what I have to tell you is the functionality of the battery is
seen on two sides. The one is that you have to balance the fluctuations over the daytime, meaning the fluctuations of the solar from minute to minute with clouds or something like this. And on the second, we have to shift the energy from the daytime to the nighttime. Both functionalities are very, very important. Otherwise, you stay with the PV generation at 20 to 30%. Otherwise, you cannot balance this small grid, because the small grid are really infected by these fluctuations. And that you see at least in this graph for the economics, meaning you start on this graph from 0 to 100% renewable share. And you see, if you start with 0, meaning the diesel genset only, you have the high cost, which are predicted by the diesel generator. And then you start to install photovoltaic system, which you can do up to 20–30% without battery. And that's a very efficient way. So the price jumps down to 1/3 around that. And because everybody knows in the meantime that photovoltaic systems are producing power with big gigawatt systems up to 3 or 4 cents per kilowatt hour, and with the normal 100 kilowatt or something like that systems around 8 to 12 cents per kilowatt hour, which is not to achieve by the diesel genset at all. So if you use PV, it's clear you run down the prices of the kilowatt hour, but this is limited because you cannot use the PV when you have excess energy, then the efficiency runs down also. So you have to implement batteries, and this is a question now of the optimization of the economic cost, meaning you have to look what is the price of the fuel, what is the price of your storage and photovoltaic system, and what are the financing costs over the time. So these elements together has to be simulated so that you get the optimal solution that is basically normally something around 80%, which you see here is the lowest price per kilowatt hour of levelized cost of electricity. So that's basically what a rural electrification systems or a system for small islands or little bit bigger islands is doing. And that is, in the meantime, the success story of battery solutions or hybrid solutions, meaning the combination of PV power and batteries. Then we come to the bigger systems, or on-grid systems, which has also different functionalities, meaning you have to balance all kinds of fluctuations, whether they are coming from big PV systems, which needs to balance, because if they run down their supply from 100 to 20% just because of a cloud walking over the PV field, you have to do something to balance the grid. And the same problem you have with unstable grids, because they are also a big problem in the power supply of countries like Indonesia. We have brownouts and other things. You have also to balance, especially with systems where you need a very stable and high quality power supply. And at least you have also the arbitrage business, meaning you buy the power at peak times and you sell it with low cost at times where the need of electricity is not that high. So at the end of the day, you have also the functionality of island mode, meaning that you have to have the ability of, in terms of power cuts or something like that, that you can supply electricity instead of that. So that's basically the applications we are providing. And you see that here in these 3 graphs, the arbitrage business on the right-hand side, the ramp rate control for solar and wind energy in the middle, and the so-called frequency regulation on the left-hand side, meaning that if the frequency increases or decreases, the battery systems feed in power or just store it. And And in this way, the frequency should be stable on one level and in exactly in that kind of band which is foreseen by the grid operator. Okay, that's are the basic system needs we have. We see also in countries like Indonesia the beginning of these bigger applications as well. In Germany, we have, for example, the ability for reserve power supply by batteries, which is possibly 5% in the grid, but is really used by 50. So 50% of the reserve power in Germany is provided by batteries in the meantime, and that is something which is a process which is extending also in other countries now. We see that in the UK, where they have a really high level, or Australia, where it's nearly up to 100% now of battery supply for frequency regulation. So we think that this issue is something which is increasing also in Indonesia quite well. And so that should be in the market for the future. So what we see here is that basically the 3 types of battery systems we provide. That means a small container solution between 30 and around 100 kVA, and something between 60 and 300 kilowatt hours, and then the 20 feet, which is more or less used for commercial applications. That is something between 100 and 800 kVA and up to 1 megawatt. And the big solutions, meaning that basically one 40 feet container contains 2 megawatt up to 3.5 megawatt hours. And that's the type of application we supply.
You have 1 minute.
Okay, yeah, thanks very much. Okay, then I just will tell you that we provide our own monitoring system. So we control all our systems worldwide here in Berlin, and we can also have an alarm chain and everything to control these systems and provide also all the operation and maintenance powered on site or in the country to maintain these systems. And we can skip that. Okay, that is just shown the projects we have done in the Philippines. For example, in this small village where we make the whole system, meaning PV, the small grid, and the powerhouse, and the battery system, and some other projects I won't like to skip here. That is the biggest one in Australia. And so what we do for you is, or what we would like to see is a cooperation with partners, meaning companies which like to install and provide services to the systems which are already commissioned. And what we like to see is also projects which are going for a solution. For these projects or partners, we provide a first profile and a first preliminary survey and so that you can see what is the sense of a storage solution. It is possible, it makes sense or not. And then we can, after this analysis and engineering in the beginning, we can start up with the design for the system. And that makes it very easy for you to say, okay, let's see what is going on. And you'll find a questionnaire on our website where you can see, okay, what basically data you need to know what data we need to provide you the first impression of a system design and what is the economic sense of the whole. So that's basically what we are doing. And okay, then thank you for your wait, just one second. What we also provide is financing on leasing models and purchase agreement. We are not only doing EPC, what we like to do for small systems, especially on the islands. We also provide financing by basically normally crowdfunding solutions that we already did in the Philippines, and we would like to extend that in the Indonesia country. Thanks a lot.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Ross. Next we have Frank Zimmerman. Hi, Frank, from ILF Consulting Engineers, speaking about optimized implementation of renewables in the diesel grids. Are you online now? Hello, Frank?
In the next 10 minutes, I'd like to introduce you to some engineering solutions from the entire system. My topic today is the optimized implementation of renewables in mini grids. And therefore, let us concentrate on the most abundant and least expensive renewables, which is the photovoltaics. Before we start, briefly about ILF Consulting Engineers. We are a fully privately owned engineering and design firm, concentrating to assist our clients in the planning and executing of complex projects. We have more than 2,000 employees worldwide in 40 offices, and our core competences lie in oil and gas, in infrastructure, in water environment, and in energy. And energy is including conventional power generation, but also the renewables. Our regional presence in Southeast Asia is in Bangkok in Thailand, where we have a strong international engineering team for photovoltaics, but we are doing as well the hydropower plants there. ILF service portfolio covers the entire project life cycle, from pre-feasibility studies to bankable feasibility studies, conceptual designs, tender designs, detailed design or design vetting, on the EPC up to site supervision and commissioning or even the due diligence. So next slide, please. ILF is also innovative, so we continuously take a look at new markets, needs, technology. We recognize trends. We develop know-how, and we realize the projects for our clients. Next slide. As such, we have been pioneering as well in Indonesia and helped to develop, to implement two of the first larger scale PV power plants. One is located in Gorontalo and has a nominal power of 14.5 megawatt, and the other one is located in Lombok with 7 megawatt. Both PV power plants are with single axis tracker systems and support the local grid, which is run by diesel generators. So both projects are just completed. Our services were there, the design vetting, hydrology, construction supervision, commissioning, and a performance ratio verification. So let us quickly make aware again of the advantages of the hybrid system versus all disadvantages of a conventional diesel-based system. A solar hybrid system usually decreases the power generation costs. It makes electricity available 24/7. It increases the grid stability, as we have just heard. It decreases the fuel consumption and maintenance, and it increases the diesel generator lifetime. But to add the optimum size of a photovoltaic and a battery storage system to an existing diesel mini grid is an engineering challenge. Most importantly, for the acceptance of the end user, for the solar hybridization is the grid stability, and that's why we very much take care of this one. We are looking, when we are planning, at the following main constraints, which are, for example, a sudden cloud, which can reduce the solar energy production up to 80% within seconds. Another constraint may be the addition of a load, specifically a motor drive with high inrush current, or simply the breakdown of one diesel generator. And once we grid this check the grid stability, we even look at 2 such occurrences coming in at the same time. So the trick is to find out the optimum size of the hybrid system. As we have just seen, it is obvious that little solar has only little financial impact. On the other side, a PV plant, which is oversized, produces solar electricity which cannot be used. And therefore, there's obviously an optimum size with the lowest LCOE. And ILF helps to detect this low. So planning a project could be a very straightforward process. From the project idea to see the site, then study alternatives, then decide for the best one, making the financial evaluation, and the project meets the expectations. Unfortunately, this rarely happens. Instead of this, project sponsors typically ask for lower project costs after the first financial evaluation, leading to one redesign after the other, delaying the timeline and increasing the planning costs. So next slide. Good, next one, please. For doing such a redesign properly, many parameters can be modified. For example, the technology of the solar modules, the crystalline, amorphous, and the bifacial, the size of the solar array, the mounting structure, if it's a fixed tilt, which angle, which pitch, the table size, or the tracking, with or without backtracking, the size and the type of the batteries, the size of the number of diesel generators, or even the financing options, just to name a few. Can I have the next slide, please? Okay. Next slide. But if you only modify 4 PV variations or 4 batteries and 4 generators, 3 mounting structures and 3 different financing solutions, you end up with somehow 576 variations. If you now like to combine these with variations of the solar resource or the load profile, adding some market conditions for each variation, you easily end up with millions of business cases to be analyzed. To cover this simulation, ILF has developed the RenRisk software, which identifies the best possible project option and at the same time optimizes technical, economical, and risk aspects. This is creating certainty for all the involved stakeholders. So, and how is it done? In the early design stage, the project can be best influenced to be most profitable. RenRisk evaluates carefully the possible project options. It is avoiding the traditional project design, optimization, the trial and error process where technical and financial aspects of the projects are evaluated individually. We do this by combining both the technical and the financial criteria, taking into account the probabilistic nature of the input parameters. We therefore use the Monte Carlo method to analyze a multitude of project options for thousands of project variations and isolations or load scenarios, and to find the best solution for the project. And the optimization can target various aims. It can target the highest risk-adjusted economic return, the measured LCOE. We can optimize according to the financial parameters like lowest CapEx or lowest OpEx, or we have the highest renewable energy share. Therefore, we can engineer the business case that best fits to the sponsor's view of the market, the risk appetite, and the return expectation. And certainly this approach for the design is not only for hybrid power plants, but as well for grid-connected applications. And here you can see we applied this method for a hybridization of an island in the Philippines. The next slide shows this design of a 104 megawatt agro PV power plant in Vietnam.
You have 1 minute.
Yes. So this is an agro PV, which might be very interesting to be used in Indonesia. And it has to be said that this 104 megawatt agro PV power plant in Vietnam has been constructed during the period of only 4 months, less than 4 months, together with a 2210 kilovolt substations. We have been the planner for that one, and that's why it has been very, very efficient. So thank you very much for your attention.
Great. Thank you very much, Frank. Thank you for all of the presenters for this session. Are there any questions that need to be asked? Since we're running a little bit late, I'm gonna, if there are any questions, 1 or 2 questions in the next 30 seconds, we'll answer it. Otherwise, we will go to the next session. All right. Okay, I think we'll just go to the next session. Some of the questions that we have left over are we'll answer separately in the chat box. Next, we have Volker Brumand speaking about the financing of renewable energy projects as a representative of the DEG German and Indonesia. Are you ready, Volker?
Yes, I'm ready.
Perfect. Go ahead.
So, hello, everybody. I'm talking about financing options for renewable energy projects. And let me check if I can handle this. Can you give me access to the presentation, please?
Already.
Okay. So so what is the German desk? The German desk is supporting all inquiries from mainly Indonesian companies which do an investment in technology coming from Germany, and we support via financing. This financing is done either from offshore, that means coming, for example, from Germany, either via DAG, or via Hermes covered financing structure from a German bank, or we work with local banks, and here it's the Panin Bank, which provides bank financing for renewable energy projects. And we also work, as you see from here, with the Chamber of Commerce as a partner in this project. Next. So what options do we have locally? Because I think the banking system here, you know, in Germany well. We work with Klippan Finance and Verena Multifinance, and these are finance companies which are specialized in equipment financing, because equipment is typically financed in Indonesia not via the banks but via finance companies. Yeah. So when we look into a project and financing is needed, we first have to determine what kind of financing institution is most suitable. Is it a bank, or is it a finance company? Is it onshore, or is it all offshore? Before I start with the financing options, I want to give the interest rate scenario in Indonesia, because in Germany you are used to have very low interest rates here at around, let's say, 2 to 4%. In Indonesia, as you can see, in the last 10 years, it was always above 10%, and it goes up to 14, 15% and more per annum. That means when you have a renewable energy project and you have to finance it via Indonesia rupiah, then the financing cost is very high, and it's very fast going into not feasible to have it financed via a bank financing. It's also difficult in Indonesia not only to have this high interest rates, but also long-term interest rates on fixed terms are not available. So you cannot have 10 years financing and lock in the interest rates for 10 years as you would do in Germany or in Europe, but you would only do it in Indonesia, let's say on a half-year or yearly basis if you get a long-term financing at all. Why is it like that? Because the banks by themselves, that they only get very short-term refinancing. So banks in general are very reluctant to give a long-term financing for any projects. Yeah. The government, when they finance toll roads or when they finance large power projects, they get, of course, a 15 years tenor from the state-owned banks, but private investors, they will find it hard to get anything which is beyond 7 years on financing. So what is the message for, let's say, German manufacturers or suppliers? If you can come up with a financing solution, that would be, of course, a competitive advantage, because your Japanese competitors, they will come with financing from Japan. The Koreans offer financing from Korea, and even the Chinese competitors, they will offer financing through their Chinese banks operating in Indonesia. So keep in mind, financing in Indonesia is expensive and long-term financing hardly available. Therefore, it's very often interesting and necessary to talk about offshore financing coming from Europe. When you compare the interest rates in Asia, here I took an example. It's not up to date, but you get a feeling. Indonesia has one of the highest interest rates, with around, let's say, 10%, whereas in Malaysia, in the Philippines, Vietnam, it's more around 5 to 6%. So it's half. Yeah, you always have to keep that in mind when you talk about a project, that the financing costs are very high. What you have to always also to keep in mind is the exchange rate, and I have put here the exchange rate euro to the rupiah in the last 5 years. And as you can see, there was a spike starting beginning of this year, and the rupiah went from 14,500 to 18,000. It recovered a little bit, but you can imagine when a project developer or project owner runs into a project and orders equipment or services from Germany and suddenly pays 20 or 25% more on the currency, that can kill him. Yeah, so even if you order machinery and the delivery time is 6 months ahead, yeah, and he does not hedge this rate, then he can pay 20% more or for the equipment than was calculated in his feasibility study. Yeah. When you look at the exchange rate in US dollar, it was quite stable the last 5 years, but you also have sudden spikes. You see it mid of 2018, it went from 13,500 to nearly 15,500, went then back, and recently we have seen rates with 16,500. So that's more than 20% increase. So that you have to keep in mind when you deal with Indonesian customers. They always have to keep the exchange rate in mind for purchasing the equipment and the services. When we talk about financing in general, of course, we can finance everything, and we can finance projects and equipment and whatever you have, also services. Yeah, but we also have to keep in mind a key component when we think about financing. First of all, is debt equity. Debt equity, many Indonesian companies, they want to use as less equity as possible, and are surprised that, for example, finance companies need a self-financing quote of 30%. Sometimes they ask even for 40% equity and 60% debt. Yeah, so that's also different than financing in Europe. Then I mentioned already the tenor. The tenor is typically on the shorter side, so up to 5 years. Currency plays a role. Onshore, I can finance also in dollar. The onshore dollar rate is also around 4 to 5% compared with, let's say, 10 to 11 in rupiah. But then they run a currency risk. If their revenues are not in rupiah and they finance in dollar, it can create a very much trouble in situations like we have it at the moment. And then the financial modeling is also quite important. Is the project profitable and generate sufficient revenues to make it feasible at all? And last but not least, we see very often that Indonesian companies have not enough collateral for the banks as a security to secure the loan. So if there is, for example, from supplier a buyback guarantee or anything like that, that's very often helpful and can be used. What I want to say is financing is not an off-the-shelf product. It has very many components, and it has to be tailor-made for each and every project.
You have 1 minute, Volker.
Yeah, okay. So what financing options do we offer? Local bank financing, you can come to me and we can discuss local financing. There are a kind of development banks in Indonesia called PTSMI, or Indonesia Infrastructure Finance. They offer loans in rupiah or dollar. We can arrange that. If it's an offshore loan from Europe, then we can have an export credit agency financing, but that's typically for financing amounts for equipment which is more than $3 to $5 million. So that's more for the larger scale projects. Yeah. Then of course there are the multilaterals like the Asian Development Bank, the IFC active in Indonesia. Then development banks like DEG. But again, such institutions typically want to have a high amount of financing. DEG also starts at around $10 million equivalent upwards. So if you have only a financing of 2 to 3 million, we have to see who is willing to look into that. As I mentioned, for equipment, normally we use local leasing solutions in Indonesia. Can be in dollar, but is typically in rupiah, but up to 5 years. And last not but least, sometimes we work with Sharia banks, which have similar conditions than commercial banks, but they are very often more open for infrastructure projects where we finance assets. I think, 1 second. I cannot go forward. If you have questions, please contact me, send me an email, describe what financing you need, and we look for the right tool and partner to finance, because each project is different. Each sponsor and borrower has his own particulars. If it's a state-owned enterprise, that's sometimes easier than if it's a private sponsor, but we have to look for it. Last remark, there is no project finance in Indonesia. That means based on the project itself, nobody will give financing if it's not a $100 million project upwards. So that means we always need project sponsors, borrowers, which have a good balance sheet, which have a good track record, and the bank bases the financing on their financial strengths and not on the project. The project can be excellent, can be good. If you don't have a sponsor, a developer who has a strong balance sheet, a good track record with the bank, and sufficient equity, you will not get it financed onshore. That's from my side. If you have any questions, let me know.
Awesome. Let's put up the poll. We have a poll for this, and then we go on into Q&A for Volker. So just about 30 seconds to answer this question for the participants. Something that everybody wants to know the answer of. How can we fund decentralized generation? All right. Any results? All right, so the results are in. It looks like a combination of the various government-funded PLN or private-funded are the majority answer, 70%. 13% thinks it should be privately funded, 11% government-funded, and 6% PLN-funded projects. Any questions for Volker related to finance? Let's see, I don't see any questions specifically for finance. So Volker, just really quick, just one question while we're waiting for this.
There's one hand is raised.
Oh, go ahead.
There's the one hand has been raised. I will ask maybe here Ibu. Yeah, Ibu Dian. You can speak if you like.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Andre Susanto, and thank you very much, Mr. Bromun. My name is Dr. Dian Paraluhutan. I studied in Berlin, Germany, on energy law, and I have first questions about the financing for the energy projects, especially in local areas. As far as I know, there is a regulations that restrict the loan of offshore funds from abroad for the local municipality. And these regulations until now has not been abolished, so it is still obstacle for the local communities and also local government to have to get the loan from financing institutions in Germany for energy projects in the local area. Thank you.
Yeah, when I may answer, I don't know the regulation, but of course it makes perfectly sense, because when a local government or a local municipality want to borrow, they should borrow in the currency where they get their revenues in the future, and that's Indonesia rupiah. It's not advisable that local or regional or municipality governments get funding in foreign currency, because the currency risk is simply too high. And honestly speaking, foreign lenders would also not lend to these institutions, because they will not meet their requirements on audited financials, cash flow projections, etc. And I think for foreign lenders, they would not be acceptable. So again, the advice is it makes perfectly sense that they are not allowed to borrow in foreign currency, even if by viewing the rates, let's say dollar, let's say around 4% and rupiah around 10%, yeah, the risk which they take in the currency is so high, yeah, that it can really damage their financials. And as you have seen, from January to March, the rupiah has depreciated towards the dollar by more than 20% in 3 months, and nobody knows where the rupiah is end of the year and in 2 years. It can be back to 15 or 14,000. It can be 18 or 20,000. Muliani has not ruled out that hell breaks loose, the rupiah goes to 20,000. And when you have then foreign currency debt on a municipality level or on a regional government level, then you are in big trouble. And I tell you, no foreign lenders will give them money based on that risk, which they should not take.
Thank you very much, Sir Bromon. Vielen Dank.
All right. Any other questions? If not, should I hand this over to Stefan?
Yes, I can take over. Maybe we have one more raised hand. Lady Subekti, in case you have a question, please.
Yes, my name is Grace from QDC Technologies. Thank you very much for the opportunity to asking. I'm asking about for the last slide. Can you repeat it again about the percentage of loan goes to PLN, something like that? And question number 2, I saw also about the presentation that the loan goes to Panin Bank. It is collaborate from Germany to company, I mean, Bank Indonesia, and you choose about Panin Bank. So that's why the loan is not goes abroad bank. I mean, this is a local bank. Thank you.
Sorry, I didn't get the questions both. I didn't really understand.
Okay, number 1.
Coming back to the structure of the German desk. The German desk is a cooperation between the German government, DEG, and the Chambers of Commerce. And what is the purpose of the German desk is financing out of Germany is normally very large amounts, multi-million-dollar amounts, which are then financed out of Germany. So Germany has said for Indonesian companies which want to buy German or European equipment, there should be a local solution. And therefore they have created this German desk, and the cooperation partner is Panin Bank, so that the German bank looks into local financing from local institution, can be Panin Bank, can be multi-finance companies. That means they use their own money. The money does not come from Germany, and they are not refinanced by Germany. It's just a help to introduce the project to Panin Bank or the Panin Bank group, and to advise the customers how to get local financing. But Germany does not give any guarantees, and Germany does not give any financial support to Panin Bank to provide loans. It's just that, for example, myself, I accommodate the communication between the Indonesian buyer and typically the European seller.
Okay, it means that not only Panin Bank, but also the other bank, local bank, can also support this.
Of course, this is not a support program. It's kind of consultancy and advisory project that I can help how to structure such financings. Yeah, and of course we can also go to BCA, to Mandiri, or to BNI in case Panin is not interested, or if one of their finance companies are not interested. What I say is, the structure is at the moment set up that our official partner is Panin Bank, but if Panin Bank says, sorry, we don't do that business, or it's not our area of competence, I can also go to other banks. Typically, I work, for example, with BNI or other banks, for example, PTSMI as a development bank, and bring projects to them and then ask them if they can finance it. Yeah. Again, there is no finance support or risk takeover from Germany to Panin Bank. So the first address is Panin Bank, but if Panin Bank says no, we can't do it, or we don't want to do it, the risk is too high, it's not our area of competence, then we go to other institutions which are maybe more suitable.
Okay, noted. Can you repeat it again, the previous slide who shows about the percentage like PLM, something like that?
So we will share the presentations, Grace. We will share all the presentations. I guess you're referring to the poll result. We will find a way to share also the poll result, because we have to keep an eye on the time also. We will share all the presentations. I think Ivo Satika has already sent a link to the presentations in the chat, and
okay.
we will also share pictures of the poll so that everyone has all the information from this webinar. Yes, I would like to thank everyone, all the speakers, for participating in this webinar. And yes, Andre, thanks for moderating this webinar. I think it was interesting for everyone, and I hope you enjoyed the webinar. After the session, after you leave the webinar, there will be a survey we would like you to fill out. And of course, there's still also the option to participate in the B2B meetings, in the individual meetings with the German companies. In case you're interested in working with one of them, please send us an email to registration@econix.id. Yeah, this is the from my side. Andre, you want to add something?
No, I'm good. Thank you for everybody for participating and listening. Hopefully you guys get lots of information and be able to connect with the relevant people you need to connect to.
Okay, thank you, everybody, then, and well, see you next time. Thank you.